Educating, informing, serving. Fact TV, keeping government honest.
Welcome to the meeting with the Westminster School Board on Wednesday, October 20th. We're meeting at 5:30 at the Westminster School. And let's just have a quick round of introductions. I think we'll start with you, Principal Hardy.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. I have a small head cold, so I'm joining via Zoom. Liz Hardy, principal at Westminster Center School.
Thank you. Great. And we'll go around the room here. Go ahead.
Teen BLC, Westminster School Board, obviously, sorry.
Jim Vazina, Finance.
Karen Blanchard, Westminster School Board.
Cheryl Charles, Chair of the Westminster School Board.
Marjorie Ferry, Westminster School Board.
And Ricky Adams, Technology.
And always like to acknowledge Nicole Mays, who'd rather stay in the background there, but our superstar superintendent's assistant. So thanks, everybody. And we have Fact TV here, and it looks like at least one interested community member, which is great. Are there any adjustments to the agenda tonight, please? I have none myself, all right. No adjustments to the agenda. Moving ahead to communications and public comments. So let me see if there's anyone in the public who would like to address the board, make a comment. See none right now. We'll go ahead to review and approve the board minutes for September 15th. I'd like to entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
I approve those minutes.
No, you.
So moved.
I put a motion to approve those minutes. Yes, thank you very much.
Perfect.
And then when you call, I will say yes.
Right. First, we'll call for any discussion, if there is any. Any discussion on the minutes, any corrections? I have none either. All those in favor, all the board members are in the room right now, so we can simply do an oral vote. And all members in favor of approving the minutes, please signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
All right, approved. That's one of the cool things, that we're supposed to do a roll call when we are some by Zoom and some in the room. But if we're all in the room, although we're missing Charlie and he'll be here, we just get to do it orally like that. So done. Jim Vazina, you're first, our finance update.
Really?
And well, I don't see the superintendent. I think he's out tonight, and we'll start with you.
Okay. Tonight, I just wanted to give you, this was yesterday. It is kind of what you received before. Expenditures.
Mm-hmm. Is it different than the one you sent the other day? Is it 1019? It looks like
No,
it's the same.
it is not.
Okay.
Well, I've got one for you too.
Okay.
So anyways, this gives you kind of an up-to-date look at where we are. And again, I looked through the one thing that we've not done as yet, but we will. If you look on page page 6, and you'll see 3/4 of the way up there, and it's the tuitions that are not as yet expense. But again, we'll get to that, within the next couple of weeks here.
Thank you for pointing it out. I saw that in the review. Go ahead.
And I mean, it's a big chunk.
You bet.
So, I don't think that any other area was was really concerning. And if you have any questions on the expense side, just send me an email and I'll take a look at whatever it is. I just want to tell you this year, I mean, it's dramatically different from last year with the correct, getting the correct as we go forward, you'll see on page 1, there's a grouping halfway down, which is 5171. Now, that is going to change, as I mentioned in previous discussions, because if you're a teacher, if you're a guidance teacher, I want that to come up under the 5111, so that when you say, hey, how much are we spending on teachers? I can tell you and say, hey, it's this amount. There's no reason to have this 5171 rolled out as it is, because if you're a guidance teacher, if you're a health teacher, if you're a media teacher, I want that to roll up under the top. So, and again, if you say, Jim, what the heck are you doing that for? If you're a teacher that's certified, it should roll up under the 5111. And again,
Are they under the same contract?
yes, they are. They are. And so so we've tried to do that as much as we can and make sure things are hitting in the right places. But if you have any question, hey, I'll be glad to do it. And Liz, what I sent you should show as by function and by object. So it should give you, either way that you want to look at it, it should give you that information.
Oh, it's-
So, Karen,
I know that this is the adaptation from the 13th, right?
yeah,
Well, I was just curious about, I'm trying to look at the para educators in this new one that you have.
right?
And is that on page 6? Sorry. 5. The reason I'm looking at the one that was here, and I noticed that on this piece, the para educators are is less. The teachers are more and everything else is less except the administrator on this one, on the old one, the 13th one.
Now, that one is for in your next budget cycle.
Right,
So what you're looking at is this year,
that's
23.
right, that's what yeah.
Yes.
22, it's moving into 23, but
Yeah.
that's what you're saying. And this one, I know, is saying 2024,
Yes,
right? Okay.
yes.
I was just sort of interested, was just looking at the increase, decrease column there. And I was noticing that the para salaries were down, in other words, there was a less amount for that line item and so forth. And I was just curious about why that was, whether there are less number of paras that people are using. Liz, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Or-
Yeah, I understand. This is a number that Jim had proposed. We have not discussed what I would propose for Westminster Center Schools around just paraprofessionals. We have, what sometimes happens is, one, they are hard to find. We don't have a huge hiring pool for paraprofessionals, and oftentimes they will begin as a regular ed paraprofessional at Westminster Center School, and then the student needs fluctuate, and then they need to transfer into a special ed paraprofessional role based off of student need. And then we're able to hire more, but that hasn't happened. We haven't gotten to the hiring part yet. So, yeah, I don't know. I would like to talk more to Jim about the decrease, because I'm not sure if that is something, I'll have to think about it, about if that's really.
And we may have missed a para. Right now, we only have one para going into the regular ed, and again, this is for version 1, and as Liz looks at it and says, hey, wait a minute, there should be another person in there, we'll change it.
Sure.
Yeah, for
Yeah, I
example,
was
we started the year with 2 regular ed paraprofessionals, and at this point in the year, so a couple months in, needs have shifted, and I think we are currently paying out of our regular ed budget for a half of a paraprofessional
Thank you.
because student need.
Yes, okay, thanks so much.
So this, at this point in time, this is Jim's overall financial report. We have later in the agenda, the 23, it should say 23-24 budget development, which is in part what you're looking
Yes.
at.
Yeah,
Yep.
So the first thing that Jim has just given us is simply a rendering of expenses to date against our current year's budget.
Right.
Yeah, and then we will have time to get into the projections, plans for next year. And what Liz just said is she and Jim haven't had a chance to talk
yeah,
about
I got
that.
that, that's fine.
Yeah.
It's really more, sort of an interest that I have about these different positions and how important they are, or whether they've come aboard or not come aboard, so, thank you.
Anything else, Jim, about the current?
No, but if there's questions that arise, if you say, what the heck is that? We'll look it up and just let me know, just send me anything.
So I think for all of us, especially as we get more deeply into the budget process, we're going to want to spend some time with you to understand it,
Yes.
even in more depth. One question for you, though, is that there are still a number of places, like the 7th and 8th grade tuitions that you just cited, where we don't have any period expenditures, we don't have any encumbrances. Is it complete to date as far as you know?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it is, but when you talk about a big expense like the tuition, we by now and known, hey, how many students do you have going in, and we know what the tuition rate is, so there should have been some expenditures encumbered at this time.
And Liz, that's information you have here at the school about the number of students tuitioned from Westminster into the other area schools, 7th and 8th. So it's just another systems. It's better because you're on top of it now. This was, as you know, the source of 2 years of enormous surpluses because it wasn't billed properly until the end.
And I will say, in the 23, we can see that there is, I think it's $20,000 for each, I'm looking at, there's something called a SEER cost.
Is there a page?
I'm looking on page 6 right now,
Still, okay.
and I'll see that 20.
It's down 1201, special ed, grades 7 and 8, 20,000. Is that the one?
Yes.
Okay.
So outside of the district, we
Right.
will have to pay some expenditure for the excess, what they term as excess cost, special ed cost. We've determined, though, that in our district, that's not a cost that we will expense for. In other words, you won't have anything in our district for excess costs, excess special education costs.
That's in the SU budget.
Right, because we've kind of included it in how we dole out the special ed costs, so. It wasn't clear to me last year, but it is now.
So you're saying that 20,000 really shouldn't be in here, or?
That 20 will be less depending on what other districts, outside districts, will do with our special ed students, if any.
I'm not sure I understand that, but when you.
Is that because students who have special education services have a higher rate of tuition?
They're not included in the
They're
tuition.
not included.
Right, so typically, if you if you have students going anywhere in here or out of district, they typically will bill because special ed is handled as an excess cost on the tuition rate. So, does that make sense?
Not yet to me.
All right, that's good. So any of the tuition rates that we put together in last year in preparation for billing anyone, it didn't have the special ed attached excess cost.
It just said the regular tuition for like a normal student, and then there's an additional piece that's for their special ed
Correct.
component.
And it's, you know what, I mean, I've been working in Vermont too long, but I still don't get why they term it as excess
Yeah, it's not
cost.
excess, it's
But
the
they do.
cost.
They term it as excess cost. And it's in addition because it's not calculated at all in the tuition rate.
Okay.
It's a tough one, and I will say this, in New Hampshire, this is foreign to them. And I still have, I had the gentleman in Lebanon say, why is that excess? Why is that an addition? Because they use an 100% tuition rate, which includes special education.
I've never heard this before.
We'll discuss it as we go forward. I mean, this won't be the last time you'll hear this because it's just different. And I've got all of the tuition rates for everyone, including Westminster, as you go forward, but it won't include the tuition for special ed. Special ed is pulled out. And that's typically the way any district does it. So.
So when you say pulled out, this is,
Yeah.
so when you say it's pulled out of the budget, in other words, it's a separate line item in the budget?
No, it's pulled out when I do the calculation
Yeah,
for tuition,
yes.
and I say, because the board will have to approve that.
Mhm.
Special ed costs are not in that, that tuition that we're presenting to you.
Mhm.
That's where this other piece of excess cost is, because that's where the special ed is added on, if you will.
Can we try it this way? That there is a tuition rate for every student.
Yes.
Some of those students are considered special education, and there's an extra cost for those, and that's what's over in a separate
Yes.
line?
Yes,
Okay.
that's right.
And yet, special education services are all in the supervisory union budget, and we pay a percentage by assessment
Yes.
in here, okay?
And therefore, for our district, there's none. In other words, the students that go to, the middle school, we view it as you already are assessed a special ed cost. Therefore, we're not gonna double that billing.
Okay,
So, and I went around and around with Chris about it, and I said, boy, it seems like if you did excess cost, you're double billing. It took us a while, and again, we sifted through it, and we're okay with it. Those kids that are outside of our district, they probably will end up doing the excess cost. And it will hit that $20,000 somewhat. Do you need 20? Probably not.
well, let's all listen and try to figure this out as we go forward. Thank you, welcome, Charlie. We'll talk about timing as we get later in the meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, do you have any, we've got several topics that actually relate to you tonight. We'll try to, I hope you can stay.
Absolutely,
Thank you.
sure, absolutely. I just want to
Appreciate
give
that.
this to Charlie and Charlie, this is expenditures for America Day.
Anything more from you right now, Jim?
Oh.
Okay, thank you.
No.
Then Liz, the principal's report, please.
Yeah, absolutely. Hello, everyone. We have the same student population, 157 students, as we had last month. As you might have known through the newsletter, we had our Fire Prevention Day last Friday, which need to give a huge thanks to our Westminster Fire Department. Last Friday, each class was able to walk down to the fire station and participate in a variety of stations, such as using the fire hose or going up on the ladder, exploring the trucks. They did a four-wheeler ride around the field. There was a smoke room. They were trying on the uniforms. Smokey the Bear was there, along with a game warden. It was just an awesome tradition to have back, and students were really excited to be back. Normally, sixth graders don't really go, but they hadn't been since third grade, so we thought it was worth their time. And the fire department also gives each student a red fireman's hat and an activity packet to take home. So it was really nice to have that back. It felt really normal again. Also on the 31st, we will host another Farm and Field Day. We had started this tradition last year, and we will hold it again this year. It's going to be the morning of the 31st from about 9 to 10:45, and students will rotate through stations such as sack races, musical chairs, a fall craft. We'll have a collection of trucks and tractors for students to explore. And then in the afternoon of that day, we'll have our Halloween parade. So at 1:30, students can change into their Halloween costumes. We'll parade down School Street, turn around at the town hall, and then return to school. The Kern Hatton Drum Band will also join us this year. Again, that's another tradition that we haven't had in a few years, and we're happy to have that back. Our after-school program is up and running at max capacity. We have 36 students enrolled based off of our staffing. We can have 13 students to every one adult. And so based off of funding, we have 36 students, and we are currently having clubs that include biking, cooking, active games, yoga, arts and crafts. You'll be seeing some scarecrows around the campus soon, brought to you by our Arts and Crafts Club. 2 parent volunteers were able to get students up and riding bikes this fall. Some of those students had never ridden or have never ridden on the road. So they were conquering fears left and right. And I think, to quote a student, it was the best day of her life. So that was wonderful. On the 31st, we'll also start a new set of clubs to include cupcake decorating, basketball, readers theater, and weaving. Our after-school tutoring program will also begin November 7th. And an update from our team, our parent-teacher organization, which we've decided to rename because people are very confused about the name and they don't know. There's confusion about what it is. So we've been calling ourselves, as of last month, we started calling ourselves the PTG, Parent-Teacher Group, and they are planning a family movie night, which will be next Friday, October 28th at 6 o'clock. They're hoping to play Hotel Transylvania in our gym, and they'll be providing popcorn and water in the movie, and families are welcome to come on in, bring any comfy blankets or pillows they want to get cozy and enjoy a movie. Just an opportunity for a shared experience and to kick off Halloween weekend. And to update you on the community engagement that I shared last month, we have had 4 community members who are interested in volunteering in our school. We will continue to welcome volunteers as they're interested. We have 2 parents who are interested in our winter sports program, and we have 2 other volunteers who are interested in volunteering during a reader's workshop in the classrooms. Also, another tradition that we're excited to bring back is our harvest meal. This year, we will plan on having that on November 10th, which is a Thursday, the Thursday before Veterans Week, and there's no school on the 11th. We typically try to have it closer to the Thanksgiving Day break, but the staff member, Mandy Walsh, our librarian, who really spearheads these efforts, will be presenting at Vermont Fest, the technology professional development that happens for the state. So she'll be presenting on the 16th and 17th, so we decided to move it on the 10th. So this will be around 11, where we'll welcome families in and get started. And then it's just really a tradition where students and staff work together in families to use what we've harvested in our garden to make a soup, and it's accompanied by other locally grown ingredients. And parents can come in, family and community members can come in, enjoy soup and bread, salad with our students. And that is up. Any other questions?
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you so much. And you just addressed really the first item under old and unfinished business, which was parent and community involvement. Related to that, though, I wonder if you could see, you've added some things to the after-school program in the form of clubs. Can you say, did that come from your recent invitation to people to join?
No, actually, the two parents who are doing our biking club were interested even before the flyer. They were up and biking, and it's really great. We have the bikes, we have the helmets. Kids love to bike, and because where we live, when I used to live on a dirt hill, biking is a process, and you gotta, if you're not a solid biker, you gotta get somewhere to teach your child how to bike. So we have the materials here at school, so it's great that we had a couple parents who were adventurous enough to take on the after-school program group. It's been really successful.
So back to the announcement that you put out, I loved the flyer that you created, and then I know in the upcoming issue of the Westminster Gazette, you've got another invitation to people. But how much, who have you heard from? Is it?
I heard from 4 people, so 3 parents. So 2 were interested in helping with our winter sports. Another parent was interested in supporting a reader's workshop, like reading with students during the normal reader's workshop in a classroom. And then another community member who will be paired with a classroom to support during reader's workshop, reading with individual or small groups of students.
To repeat again, though, the opportunities for people, I'm thinking about the public who may want.
Yeah, absolutely. So if anyone is interested in helping or volunteering, our opportunity to support winter sports programs, that'll happen in January and February, where once a week students will have opportunities to go to Okemo to ski. We're always looking for parents to help ski with small groups of students. You can help support during a reader's workshop, which means that you would be in the classroom with a teacher and you would be helping read with individual students, listening to kids read, reading with small groups. We're also, if you are interested in being a lunch mentor, so that would mean that we would match you with one student specifically, and on a regular basis, you would come in and have lunch with that one student, just to add another connection for the student with a positive connection with an adult, which is always beneficial. And the other option is to support Studio Y. So we would connect you with Janelle, and she would fill you in on the next excursion where you could support, and we can always use an extra set of hands in Makerspace. Yeah. Oh, actually, I have to correct myself. We have had 5 people volunteer. We did have somebody who was connected with Janelle, and she is going to be supporting Makerspace in the upcoming trip to Studio Y.
Any questions anybody has?
No, great.
Someone in the community, Liz, asked what Y means.
Great question. I am not sure if I know the complete history, but I think it has to do with the basis of storytelling and the curiosity that the Studio Y experience brings. And it's kind of like, Studio Y, why are we doing this? Why are we learning this? Why are we curious about this? That's what I say, but I'm sure that there's a variety.
I thought, but I wasn't sure because of the Y, and I said, well, I'm going to ask.
Oh, yeah.
Great, thanks.
I think it's great that Studio Y is an option, because it is like such an amazing opportunity our kids have, and it's cool that the community gets to see it, because it's hard to know exactly how magical it is until you're there.
Well, the 6th grade
So it's great.
commencement or whatever, each student, everyone talked about Studio
It's
Y.
amazing.
Yeah, it is definitely a treat, and we're so fortunate that the community supports it, and it's really special.
Well, thank you, Liz, as ever, so much. Feel better soon. You look great. You don't look like you're not.
I do have to say, Liz, too, we've had so many fire safety conversations at our house since Fire Safety Prevention Day. So thank you. It's been very
All
good.
for it, yeah. And the firemen, they were just so wonderful, and it was just really great. They met you right there with the 4-wheeler. Groups of kids jumped right in and they took off. There was no wait time. They were ready to go. So it was just awesome.
That's great.
Great. The next topic on the agenda is, once again, possible capital improvements. And this is just for us to keep it, in the forefront of our thinking. In part, it still ties into how many improvements can be made using the federal COVID relief money, the Elementary and Secondary Recovery Act money. And I think we're still watching that. I know, Liz, you've got a good list. I know you're working with our head of maintenance here on that. I just want to keep it in our minds, particularly if things are not done, don't get done. We've got this surplus money that it would be appropriate for us to look at, to propose to the voters that some things that aren't done be done using some of those monies.
I also wanted to mention that the facilities audit that the SU is doing, Westminster will be audited on the 31st. So October 31st, we're expecting to have visitors come to begin the audit. So we'll be able,
Dress up.
Yeah, I know. I hope they bring their costumes. Yeah, so we'll have information from that data. So that'll be really helpful to help us inform our decisions.
How soon will it be before a report comes to you?
I do not know. I don't know the timeline on that.
But that'll be really helpful. Thank you. Any comments or questions about that?
No, sounds great.
Okay. So Margie had asked in particular, and we'd had this on the agenda before, but to take a look again at what we're learning about the Early Learning Center and the proposed SU offices. Andy sent out to all board members some preliminary reporting. And it will be a topic at the supervisory union meeting, which the next meeting will be next Wednesday. But I thought if you wanted to pose some questions or what your discussion interest might be.
Yeah, did you guys read it? Did anybody read the report? It looked really good. I mean, I wish Andy were here to tell more about it, but basically, I mean, from what I read, the feasibility study came up saying, I mean, I don't know, am I the person to say this?
Well, go ahead and whatever, yeah.
The feasibility study came back saying that yes, there are enough students here in this area. And they actually even included they were looking at New Hampshire too, drawing from all around this area. Yeah, it was feasible, and then they developed a business plan surrounding that. That was one of the other things on there, and that I didn't really dig into that, but I was glad that it looked feasible.
Yeah.
Feasible means there is a market, basically.
There is a market. Yeah, there is a market.
There's a need. I'm not yet sure if it's feasible, all things considered. So I think I'd like to alert everybody to, with an interest, and we need to all be interested in it. And it'll be a topic at the supervisory union board meeting again next week, and I'm sure for some weeks after, as far as that goes. I think the money part of it, how to work with federal subsidies, how much people would have to pay out of pocket, who would pay what, I think all of that is still kind of challenging.
Very tricky.
And then whether it really adds from birth through toddlers to a system whereby we now have pre-K services, to expand to from infant to toddler is another dimension of what that analysis was. And yes, once again, there's a need. How to do it is another issue. So I'd like to encourage everybody to read the report, and then thankfully we'll get some interpretation by the staff, and we'll work with these numbers, quite a lot as well. But
And that would be at the supervisory union meeting
next
Wednesday?
Next Wednesday at 6:30.
Wednesday.
Okay. It should be on the agenda, and if not, it would be at an upcoming meeting.
Is that in North Falls?
At the high school,
High school,
typically held at the high
Good
school.
afternoon, Nicole. Do you know if it's on the agenda, Nicole? Have they done the agenda yet?
It will be, the agenda's not finalized yet, but it will be.
I
Okay,
thought it
great.
would be, because Andy sent it out in advance for people to take a look at in the anticipation that it would be on the next SU board meeting agenda.
And who will be sort of talking us through that?
Well, I think I think probably our Director of Early Childhood Services, the principal, Jennifer Keeney,
Okay.
would be doing some of that.
Yeah.
And it's possible, the Finance Committee has looked at it, which Chris Kibbe chairs. I sit on that as well. And I think, I'm sure Jack has taken, as the chair of the SU board, has probably taken a good look at it. But it is, it still remains an opportunity. And the first thing that is clear is that there's a need.
Yes.
But you had also added, can we talk a little bit about the pre-K? And because, and have you learned anything more about how Putney pays for theirs?
Yes, so I spoke with a few people who, Kathy Bartlett was one of the people, she's the, Kathy.
Yeah.
She was one of the people who really spearheaded the pre-K at Putney, and they simply just put it in their budget. They ask for it from the town for pre-K, they have one classroom. They don't do it by need, like, they don't try to estimate, they don't say they're gonna provide it for everyone. They say they have one classroom and it's however many kids can,
They limit the numbers?
it's a first come, first serve, as far as I know.
Mhm.
I mean, it is full some years and some
Yeah.
kids don't get in,
Yeah.
as far as I know. I don't think they would hire a second teacher.
Yeah, I think it's by,
So how many students are in the classroom?
Oh, it's full.
What's the number of full?
right now it's 15, last year it was 16, it's
Yeah,
usually
okay.
around that
So
many.
it's
Yeah.
not like
It's a
20.
full class, but it's a classroom, so it's a full classroom of pre-K kids, yeah.
I just, full has different meanings in different school systems. It's all-
Full, because that age group has a requirement by the state to have a certain ratio of student to
Yes, yes,
teacher.
yes, that,
That's what I mean by full.
yes.
I think it's 6 to
So
1.
15 students is nowhere near meeting the need in Putney.
Probably
Yeah.
not, I would imagine. I bet there are people who would want to be in the class, for sure. And then there are lots of people in the community who want to be in it, but we're not in that district. So you can tuition kids in to it. You can tuition, we didn't live in, for instance, we live in Westminster, clearly. But I work in Putney. Yeah, check me out. But I work in Putney, so I was thinking, oh God, they have a pre-K, I'm gonna put my kids in there. But there was no space, but potentially you could tuition your kid in if you want to.
Meaning that you would
Pay money.
Pay tuition, it was $12,000 a year, according to, Herb. Herb told me it was $12,000.
Wow.
It surprises me because the state of Vermont has that $3,600 tuition. And I'm just surprised, it's not, I haven't heard that before.
But that's
Heard what?
$3,600 because that's 10 hours a week. That's the problem, is that they only
This was a
tuition
full-time.
up to 10 hours a week. This is full-time, it's on the same schedule as the school.
Yeah.
Which, because 10 hours, I mean, that's another thing about this study, is that 10 hours a week doesn't do anything for you unless there's one parent who's not working, or you have, like, in our case, we had grandparents who could help us. Otherwise, it's not, and so it becomes like the, it's an unequitable system for kids.
I think this is important to factor into this larger discussion about a possible early learning center here. And so I thank you for raising it, even though we cannot take action per se here. Although at some point we might offer a statement of support or something like that for a decision that we make, but not tonight, at this
Not
point.
tonight. But I mean, I guess my point was that
Mhm.
there are districts, it's not just Putney, I mean, a lot do, but Dummerston I know does the exact same thing. They just simply budget for one more classroom, and I don't, Liz, like, I don't
Guilford
even,
has
Guilford,
full pre-K.
Marlboro.
Yeah, Brattleboro, one of the Oak has pre-K.
And I think, like, clearly there would be a space issue,
Right.
you need a classroom to do it, but it's just simply the move of saying the community, you ask a town meeting, you just simply put the teachers are salaried and benefited at the regular, teacher's salary,
Mhm.
and that's how they pay for it.
Which would be something I'd be interested in talking about if this feasibility study doesn't go through in terms of
Right.
Westminster.
Right,
But
exactly.
And so one of the things I'm wondering about as we explore this, how does Putney do it, or how does Guilford do it, or how does Dummerston? We need this information in that they have independent school budgets and they're part of Wyndham Southeast. And pre-K is also coordinated through the supervisory union. So I'm wondering how individual town school districts, which is what Westminster is, how might we support an additional service in the supervisory union? Or how do each of those towns do it and still be in alignment with the overall SU policies?
Well,
I'm
WSSU is a
exploring.
merged district,
So, okay,
so they're merged. So the only school that's not merged within the district is Vernon, and they do have a pre-K, so they might be the people who'd be
Oh, they
closest
are
in our
merged.
situation.
you're right.
They're merged, yeah.
Well, so then how does Putney as the town vote to affect that when it is an SU budget?
They did it before they were merged.
Yeah, they
And
did
so
it, that's
continues
right.
to be part of it.
But Dummerston didn't. Dummerston did it after. They just did theirs like, not that many years ago, maybe
Yeah.
4 years ago, 3. They were already merged when they did it, so Dummerston.
I think there's also still a process though where voters approve specific town budgets.
Budget. Is there?
Because there is a local budget, there is a local budget piece within the merged district.
Is there?
There
A
is,
local
because
budget.
there are certain positions that are paid through the local budget and certain that are through the SU budget.
It would be really helpful to collect the data, that's all.
Do you know
That,
who would work at
and
Dummerston?
no,
Yeah.
Was the pre-K, Thompson? Yeah,
Well, do you know, I can email a few
it's
people who are
Molly
ever asked.
Oglesby, who used to be here.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
She's
actually,
pre-K.
okay, Molly, okay.
And finding out about, the supervisory union piece would be helpful if you're going to do that.
They all
He
ask
makes
about
you're absolutely right, and I haven't thought that through. There is the very large merged school district, which is Brattleboro and Guilford and Putney and Dummerston. And then, help me, Vernon is outside it.
Yeah, Vernon didn't.
And then and so that's the really big district.
Yes.
And it is a merged district, so they don't have the same kind of autonomy that we do here with our independent, crazy making for you, Jim, independent school districts, town school districts, and then the supervisory union. So I misspoke to a degree. It would be the Wyndham Southeast School District where this is an issue, how these various towns are able to get those additional services within that school district. It is less an SU issue down there than it is this merged school district. And I'm still wondering how much we can do here, to what extent. And yet we are now, a town school district. So then this leads me to wondering about some of the surplus monies too. Right, I'm just wondering how it all fits together and what our opportunities might be. So again, the extent to which you can help get additional information, that would be.
It would be something interesting to say, if we do have a surplus, I don't know, the surplus couldn't cover this, but to think about if there can't be an additional center built for early childhood education, how we could, in our school, support a full-time preschool.
And so would it be okay, Liz, can you just, your hand's up, that's
Yeah,
great.
I just have a quick question. Do those districts have pre-K for 3 and 4-year-olds? Is it just 4-year-olds? Do they have like a mixed classroom with 3 and 4-year-olds for their pre-K? How does that work?
Putney's 3-4, Dummerston is just 4, Oak Grove is 3-4, Guilford is 3-4, and Vernon is 3-4.
Okay, so
Had
it
to be
sounds like
three, had to be 3 before the beginning
I
of
work
school.
in that district.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I wondered also though, if, because I think in this context, Liz, you could describe what is housed at Westminster and what's going on here in terms of preschool and pre-K, I should say, right now.
Yeah, so they have 10 hours a week for 3-year-olds and then another 10 hours a week for 4-year-olds. So they have 2 different sessions and they dismiss, they're from 8 to 1 every day. And on certain days, 3-year-old group goes, and on certain days, 4-year-old group goes. But like Teen said, it's really inequitable because if you don't have somebody to pick your child up at 1 o'clock, it's not doable. So it's really tricky. So I would be interested in thinking, that's why this early childhood center, I think, is so would be such a resource for the community because it provides full day care for young children.
Yeah.
And it's also beneficial once the kids get to school, like get to kindergarten, there's
Right.
more ready for school, they're more, I mean, it shows their gains all over the place.
Well, that's the justification for using the ESSER money, I think, is to like
And-
show.
Go ahead.
And the access for early interventions, I'm thinking would be more streamlined because it would be right within our district. So that's just another benefit.
The question is, where is it housed right now?
Our pre-K classroom, it's right down the hall. It's right across, basically the hallway across from the library. There is a large classroom and there's an exterior door that they come in and out of. So they're not out and about in our school during the day. They really operate as their own system.
And is there any other space? I suppose you would decide to double it. Is there a second space that if they wanted 3 or 4s every day?
We do not have another empty classroom, and we really have to think about that and get creative. If we wanted to have two different classrooms that were pre-K, that would have to be some creative thinking.
The schools that have pre-Ks in WSCSU that are 3-4, it's one class though. They don't split the.
Oh, they have them together.
Yeah, they have them together.
So it's like 15 students that are both 3 and 4-year-olds, a total amount of 15 students.
Yes, except I'm thinking about it though, I think Putney is just 4, but Grove and Guilford are 3-4. So some kids move on to kindergarten and some stay in.
And what you just described, Liz, here at Westminster is a supervisory union pre-K. And so we have 2 buildings that are the locations for the WNESU's pre-K, Westminster and the Central School in Bellows Falls, serving children from throughout the supervisory union. It's not Westminster specific.
Yeah, because sometimes Saxon River kids come here. Kids from Saxon River.
Oh, do they? So it's not just Westminster?
Correct.
Actually, this year, there's only 2 pre-K students who actually are Westminster residents. The rest are from area towns in the SU. So it's not always just even priority of Westminster students.
So both Teed and Margie are so close to this with the children being the age they are and your peers in the community. I mean, from your firsthand experience, there is a need and there is a need for full day.
Yeah, it has to be full day. I mean, I contacted here when I was like, oh, great, get my kid in. There's pre-K, great, but you can't use it. Like, you can't use it unless it's a full day. I was like, oh, bummer.
Yeah.
So we enrolled our kids in a different school, but I think having it here is real. I mean, I think there's costs and benefits to having it within the school versus in a learning center. The learning center, you're taking the kid to a different area. Like, the fact that it's in your school is nice. It's like getting the kids, they're already in the school, they're moving their way up through a learning center and then coming to this school later. There's just costs and benefits.
Except that there clearly isn't space to house all the people who would need it in this
In
room.
here, right, exactly.
So
And
it would have
also,
to
I
be
think,
somewhere.
I thought that there was some conversation too about earlier. Yeah.
It's a lot to consider, so I really thank and community members, obviously, and Liz, who lives and breathes all of this every day. It's just, it's both an issue and an opportunity. And so time, the combination is a good time for us to be.
We just get it to be full-time here. Well, this other thing is happening, you know, well.
We have a full-time,
Well, yes, for this education.
we have an
setting, and
excellent
it's hard to find
full-time
people.
pre-K, we have an, I mean, here we have an excellent full-time pre-K teacher, and, two assistant teachers. Teachers as well.
Presumably, though, that means doubling or tripling
Mhm.
what's conditioned here. So I don't know if anybody's studied if that's if that's feasible.
Right.
There's also, if we were to pay the teachers on a teacher, or the preschool teachers on a teacher contract, that would be motivating for teachers who work in private daycares where it.
A lot of ins and outs, yeah, because I think, yeah.
Anyway, there's many hurdles to be crossed.
And again, this will
Before we can
be
take it.
continued, it'll be on the agenda at next week's SU meeting. And if you can join in or at least watch it afterwards, Margie.
Yeah. Some of the, I think at the bottom, there was an anecdote in the report that said, I mean, the reason that some of the teachers are leaving is because they don't have childcare.
Yeah.
So it like kind of is this
Yeah.
cyclical thing, you know, teachers
Absolutely.
sometimes tend to be childbearing age.
Mhm.
So let's go from this then into new business, the first topic of which is the 23-24 budget development. And you on that, and you said this all preliminary, and you
Right.
and Liz are going to be talking about it soon. Do you want to make any comments about that?
Well, Liz and I met on, I think it was Monday. Seems, and this budget, although it's new, I wanted to get this out, at least you could start to warm to it,
Mhm.
please. And the one thing that Liz picked up, and I do want to say that I agree with her, and that is trying to look at West to see what costs need to be spelled out. And again, they have electric, it's a separate electric, and probably should be something that we integrate in here so that at least it will integrate in this budget, but at least we will start to look at separate costs because,
We always have.
well, the electric wasn't separate.
It's always coded.
Well, again, I'm not sure, but we will separate it.
We should, and we have actually.
So, and the other thing that we looked at were teachers, to make sure that the teachers were correct. And again, I tweaked based on what Liz had showed me for classes. The other thing that I wanted to mention that in this new budget, we have put in for health insurance a 12% increase. And And will it be more? I don't know. The middle of November, they should settle in on an exact number. Some of the other items that are changed and different, and that is on the worker comp fees. We actually have adjusted transportation, because transportation typically has your highest worker comp. People tend to get injured somehow, with. And food service. I will say it works, but BizBit, who will say this, custodial and transfer. This budget integrates those higher levels and adjustments. So that's something that I guess the SU board can discuss as to how they want to go forward, because how does it change? Well, in the SU food service worker comp, $1,000. Will they adjust it? Maybe.
I noticed that the transport budget is down, even with these increased costs.
Well, and some of that, last year, because of the shortage of drivers, they had a lot of drivers doing, time and a half because they were short doing routes. And some of that will all adjust out. Eventually, they're going to add on, I think, a number of buses, because it's been a while. The other thing that I wanted to just pass out that we have changed, and that is the assessment piece. And Westminster is down at the bottom here, but the assessment piece, now that you assessment that everyone pays for. Now this now will integrate your budget. So it's not something that we wait till the end. It's an ongoing integration. So it's not bad, but it gives you data, ongoing data that automatically rates. And the other item that I was your property tax sheet. Now this is the revenue, and this is a little bit different than the one that you have attached, because this will automatically update and upgrade as we go forward. So if you want to decrease, increase, I don't have another sheet, but give you mine if you want. So this will automatically give you data and put it into the right spots. And for instance, we pay towards the high school. Their budget starts to change and your budget starts to change. Now it will integrate and update as we go forward. And what this does is it really gives you the ability to project your tax rates. And that's what a lot of people want when you're at a meeting. You'll say, hey, where am I? What are you charging me on my taxes now? And we can project now until the state gives us yields and a tax rate. And the problem with the yields as we go forward is last year they tried to soften the tax rates, meaning they changed the yields to bring down the tax rate. Now, we're gonna go a little bit back. And it will, they don't have that pot of gold that they used to have from some of the monies that, I mean, they had 141 million that they could have balanced retirement, but they chose not to. So
Who's they? Who's they?
at the Vermont governance,
Okay.
and it's probably the treasurer and tax.
So could you use this, whatever program this is that you're talking about, to estimate, like with the budget? One of the things that we've talked about, but is to give the money back to the taxpayer.
Yeah.
And I think, could we use this program to like estimate how much people would get, how much they
Absolutely.
would get back? Because I want to be able to say to people,
Yep.
It's like send me to.
right, exactly, I want to be able to show,
Right.
tell people that it will be probably pretty low.
Yeah.
Or, but maybe it won't be, I guess.
Well, percentage wise, and it'll
Yes.
give you the percentage
Okay.
and dollar amounts.
I see, okay, great,
So,
perfect.
and again, this is only as good as the state of Vermont information and data that they give out. And the problem in the past is giving out information in April to help us.
Right. It needs
So-
to be more up to date,
What do you
Yeah.
think?
yeah. Huh. I guess that's as good as it can be, so. what do you-
Yeah,
what are you
I
gonna
mean,
do?
we played their game, and I mean, it's unfortunate, but that's where we're at. So, and you talked about surpluses or unreserved fund balances in
Correct.
past years.
Correct.
In November, we should have 22's audits completed. That's my hope.
Mhm.
Now, she is supposed to come in, I think it's somewhere around the middle of November. And auditor this year, both the people at the office are trying to finish up 22. And because it was stuff that was tucked in the wrong accounts, they're trying to fix that and get that settled so we can go forward. And I'm so anxious to get that behind me. We're close.
It's not a new audit firm, it's a new person to liaison with us.
Correct.
Staff
Yes.
person.
Yes.
There's still the people in Maine.
Yes.
I see.
So, we'll do the best we can. But I think as you are developing your new budget, this is going to be integrated a lot more. So as Liz wants to make some changes and say, hey, look, I want to add a teacher here for whatever, we can do it, and you'll have all of the information all the way down to what the cost is, to see whether it's feasible or you want to. So,
A question for you. When do you think the supervisory union will be? Because
and I'm hoping that the 26th, I certainly hope they'll be able to have made all of the decisions.
Of
We're-
November.
Yeah,
You're gonna sign this by the next meeting?
well, I think they're ready. The one question that came up, and again,
I don't know. I mean, it hasn't been discussed in depth at the supervisory union board now.
no, and
Yeah.
I think they're at a point where they
Who
know,
said they, please, Jim?
well, the SU board.
I am on the SU. He's
Well-
on the SU board. Karen's on the SU. board.
And I think the SU
Start to learn.
ELL services, and hopefully on the 26th, you'll say yay or nay. The other thing is safety and security, yay or nay. And those were really the open, I put it out and resolved.
So I think the question is, where's that information for us to look at to be able to have a decision by next week? And who has that info? Do you know?
Well,
Is it-
it's in here, but it's not, the safety and security are not wrapped into your budgets. They're out here as a cost. That on line 50,
Which document are we talking
um,
about?
The big one.
this,
Yeah.
yep, the big one.
Yep.
So on line 50,
Yes,
you will know that it's gonna cost Westminster $15,314 if it is voted in favor.
It's a new position that.
Yes. ELL services, you will know that it's gonna cost you $13,426. Now, again, I think board members have to make those decisions. But to be honest with you, after that's done, I mean, and you know how many, if you are going to do anything with buses, okay? I don't know of a lot of other stuff that you're gonna have to sift through. Maybe you want to though. I mean, some people say, hey, look,
Well, we'll see. So we need a good presentation on it at the board meeting and next week. And
Yeah.
and some of these, so thank you. First of all, thank you for all of this. And we need that to figure out how that fits into the Westminster budget. And so typically we would wait for that figure to get final on what we're proposing.
Okay.
Okay. And so with that, we've already discussed to some extent the 21-22 surplus. From what Jim just said, we're waiting for that number to be finalized,
yes,
but should be, and we have a pretty strong, clear
right, right.
estimate of
Well, this is what I'm getting worried about, like, town meeting is in February.
late February, March.
Yeah, earlier, that, like, that is, if this doesn't get sort of, we don't have a number until November, that leaves us like 3 meetings to, like, make a plan.
Yeah.
It's too short to me.
I think we're okay.
Okay.
With that, and one of the things, it is correct that there is also this relatively new finance committee that's been meeting on a pretty regular basis, and we have another meeting, I think maybe, must be next, I know. So,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
but,
Just a quick one. So maybe this is not the time to discuss it, but I noticed, how is this, the members of this board who are also on the SU board, going to get to know why some of these numbers are what they are? For instance, I'm looking at the technology budget.
Yep.
It shoots up, way up in 2024. So, I mean, you don't need to give me the answer now, but is there a time when they're going to find out why that happened?
Sure, and I can, all of the technology now is being brought into the SU. Why? Well, because servers, the server pool, the interconnectivity of the technology. I mean, are you kidding? Yeah, it should have been done long ago, but for whatever reason, people didn't feel like that needed to happen. Now, Ricky currently has 2 technologists, and we've got a data person that they want to bring in, correct? Is that it? So I just think with technology, there's a lot of moving parts, and we're bringing in the equipment as well, because your students are looking forward to getting a Chromebook and wanting to use it, and the question is how we stage those Chromebooks so that we're not buying a new set every year. So,
Yeah, I mean, okay, just I noticed it triples, so presumably there should be a discussion. Tripling the budget, how did that decision get made? What are we getting for it?
to that topic too, if you can, you would want to be at the SU meeting, at least
Yeah.
to listen and.
Yeah, actually, I'm on the technology committee, so.
Exactly.
There's also questions around some of it, like safety and security, is that And EL services, we can't vote those down. They're legally mandated services.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to have it on.
I don't know, I mean, you have to approve the board has to approve everything.
Okay.
And so, when you say they're mandated, well, I mean, they still have to vote to approve it
That is correct.
and authorize it.
Okay, so I'm looking ahead at the rest of the agenda, and I think kind of related to this, I've been looking at meeting dates and the special meeting on December 1st, which would be the first Thursday of December. And I'm saying that because technically, you know, our regular meeting is on the third Thursday of each month, first and third, first if needed. And we have only been meeting once a month for quite a while. Historically, the board meets as a full board to discuss budget rather than having a smaller, because we're already such a small board. So what I'd like to propose to you all is that we actually hold a meeting on that. December 15th would be regularly scheduled meeting. And I would like us to go through all of what the SU would have been done by then. I think we have a lot that's already been drafted for us. And so that's my thought. And that by the time we get then into the early in the new year, we're gonna be able to meet all the deadlines for the town and to get a budget for the consideration by the
And
voters.
the time of that meeting will be, what is it?
That's to be, that's another, we're gonna-
That a little bit. On that first month, which we are tending not to use these days, and really immerse ourselves in that. That we would not do other board business, we should focus on the, okay, good. And hopefully we'll know, and that we should also be looking at, not just the 23-24 budget, but that surplus questions.
Okay.
And be thinking and researching and talking with other people too about the ideas for that. Someone suggested to me, for example, what if we figured out a way to pay for the music instrument fees that are going on here? If we had a fund set aside to meet the needs of families who can't pay the $25 a week, is it? I think it is, Liz, $25 a week for musical instrument.
That would be a lot.
Maybe it's a month, $25 a month perhaps.
Yeah.
But anyway, if we got that piece of information, that might be helpful. Other kinds of things that could help families might be some. Yeah, go ahead.
Just also the thing that Margie brought up last time about putting it in some type of trust to find out more about that.
About,
Putting it in some type of like trust or fund that isn't what they'll.
so far, we haven't found that that's possible.
What do you mean?
That we'd have to have the taxpayers vote to put it into a special fund.
But we have to ask them, they have to vote on what we're, anyway. Right? I thought I found that it is possible.
Go ahead, well, you found out that entities like that, but whether you can use taxpayers' money.
No, the answer is that yes, you can use it. It's a matter of how you have it set up. You know, you can put it into a 501c3. If you have something like that set up, you have to ask the taxpayer, they have to vote.
Okay.
Yes. You can put it into a different kind of fund that's subsumed like in our budget, you know, it would just be a little side fund.
For something we would describe.
Well, we can earmark it. I think what Andy had said is that it definitely has to be earmarked in some way. You can't have it be just rainy day, but
That's
you have it earmarked in some way and have it set aside in a different fund. And that way you don't have to have a plan for it immediately. You
It could
can
be like a winter sports fund or a music fund or
or something.
Okay.
You could have different categories.
Yep.
But there are other schools using it, and I spoke to a bartender in a couple of different districts. Yes, I mean, the question is not whether it can be done, it's how to do it.
Oh, well, that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just to clarify, sorry. Finish.
I guess what I was saying is like, what, were you at that meeting? Anyway, the question was, there's this budget, we have the budget. Instead of adding maybe a an interest-bearing fund, maybe a this, there's many kinds of different funds that you could put it into. Anyways, it is possible. You don't have to add at town meeting.
I had understood, perhaps incorrectly, that the state mandated that we have to use the surplus within the following school year. But is that not the case?
In our case, because Westminster became a newly formed district, the monies from the past allocated to Westminster are coming to us as new revenue as of July 1, this past July 1, which is what allows us to use some monies from previous years, only because of the creation of the new district.
So normally surpluses are lost?
They're, if you don't take action, on the side, they go back to the general fund.
But I thought there's time limit on using.
I think so.
Yeah, and typically, if the board has a surplus and you choose not to do anything with it, it will automatically be brought in to reduce taxes, and that's what it's used for. So.
But are you aware of any time limitations on how soon it has to be used?
It should be the following year. If you create a reserve account can stay open for 5 years.
That's kind of around. I see. A little sort of sheet.
Right, or you can ask the taxpayer to put it in some other kind of fund, and they can approve that. I had asked Andy, we need to meet with legal on it. He didn't answer my question.
Okay.
In the email, like, I asked him if he needs to meet with legal about it. Can I do that? I wish he were here.
Okay, so actually, that is something that I noticed, that the legal fund it doesn't have money in it in Westminster, and there needs to be money in it. We'll discuss that, but in the past, there's not any there right now in this draft budget. And we need it. We've used it in the past, we need it.
Yeah, I need to be able to talk to him.
Okay, so that's enough for now. Be thinking, be getting more information, and we'll, at minimum on December 1st. Great, like they can be decided. We have a petition request, which is a family's request concerning a student. We'll need to go into executive session for that. I see our parents there, Pamela and Patrick. Typically, something involving a student, we would go into executive session, premature knowledge of which a decision or discussion like that could negatively affect either parents, family, or the board. To share public, is there something that you'd like to say before we go into executive session, if you would choose to? We have, I think you're on mute. We do have a letter from you, and we'll carry that. We'll carry that forward.
Oh, okay. Well, if you had any questions for us, we would just really like to see our daughter has been attending virtually right now due to her anxiety with her previous school and conditions. And our daughter really could use the benefit of an in-person schooling and that instructional support. And we would love for Westminster to consider her for enrollment because you guys have the support that she needs. And we really appreciate it for her educational outcome.
Well, I thank you both for coming. The taken. We do have a list, and so I thank you for that. Before we go into executive session, let's get it through a little bit more of the business, if that's all right. I would like to hear from directors' comments. If that, and then I'd like to go back to the meeting and we'll do executive session, then we'll come and report out any action. Is that okay? Is it slow here?
As long as the parents understand that.
It's not, yeah, I'm sorry that wasn't made clear to you ahead of time. I know you guys have been sitting here the whole time, and I didn't quite realize.
Should we just deal with their issue first, so let them go? Can we just put them first?
We're just doing director's comments.
Yeah, okay.
It's just that we're gonna go into executive session to talk about it.
So they can't be here for it, it's what.
But they're waiting for our response, so. Good time.
We'll do quick director's comments.
All right, let's do that.
I have no comments. I mean, the school year seems to be really off to a great start, and I love all the stuff that's coming out of COVID. It's celebratory doing that.
It's the same, I've been looking at where I'm going to volunteer, so I read the newsletter, actually. The newsletters are wonderful. That has been great for me. I wouldn't consider us post-COVID. I'd consider us in the middle of something. This is what I would say. So, unfortunately, you know what I mean? It's just part of our life. That's all I wanted to say.
I guess post-COVID restrictions.
Yeah, post-COVID, yeah. That's right. Anyway, thank you, Lynn.
Thank you, Liz, for being, and no other comments.
Same, it's been so awesome for Junie. She's loving it. Thank you.
It's really helpful. Involved in all of that. The last thing is to talk quickly about the time of the next meeting. And the next meeting would be the time I'm actually out of town, and it's in November. And I wondered about the possibility, this is odd, of our having our meeting on November 10th. If you like that. It's a Thursday, November 10th. Normally, our meeting would be on November. It doesn't work for Charlie's schedule for us to meet at 5:30 because he's not done driving the bus. And I wondered if we could go back to 6 o'clock on meeting times. Sure. Thursday, but that first one would be our budget meeting.
Sorry, so I'm confused about which month we're talking about on the 10th.
November 10th
Yeah.
would be our meeting at 6 o'clock for the month as far as we know. And then
November 1st, or
Pardon?
December 1st?
December 1st for the budget meeting.
Yeah.
And December 15th, and then we would close out the year, and then we'll move into a new year. Okay, okay. With that, then, I think we've done it. Is there a motion to move into executive session, the purpose of which is to talk about a student-related matter, premature knowledge which will damage potential of the student's interests.
So moved.
Okay. With that, Liz, will you stay with us, please?
There you are.
All right, and we'll see everybody very shortly. Thank you, Jen. Okay, it looks like everyone is back. We're out of executive session at 7:32. We have one item for consideration. We had received a request that a student be accepted for enrollment at the Westminster Center School. That student does not live within the Westminster Town School District. And so we regretfully are not able to accept the student at Westminster. We regretfully are not able to accept her. The issue is, just to offer a little more explanation about that, is that we've had a number of requests, and there are a number of requests throughout the supervisory union at this time. We have individual town school districts, and the request to move a student from one town school district or one school district to another has a lot of issues involved in it. And we don't have a policy overall within the supervisory union to help guide us in this area. We are aiming to, we've been discussing this as the board along. Westminster became once again a new town school district on July 1. So just since July, when we had responsibility again brought to the town, we're working on policies that will guide us. Those policies are not all in place. And so with regret, we're not able to say yes at this time. We'd be pleased to, we hope this works out well, and really feel a lot of empathy for this. So thank you for bringing it to us, and we will work on policy, but that's our action at this time. Is there any more business before the board? With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Okay, we're adjourned.